We are experiencing a time of increasing insanity in the collective consciousness. With these words, Eckhart Tolle describes our current global situation. We see it everywhere: polarization of society, global conflicts, and a system clinging to dysfunctional structures. But here comes the surprise. This collective insanity is not the end. It is the harbinger of a massive transformation. The true Great Reset will not come from outside but from within, and this will completely surprise the elite who believe they can control everything. For thousands of years, humanity has lived in a state that Eckhart Tolle describes as egoic consciousness. This consciousness is characterized by identification with thoughts, concepts, and mental positions. It has helped us develop self-awareness and recognize ourselves as individuals, but this phase of human evolution is now coming to its natural end. What we are experiencing today is not simply another crisis in a long series of crises. It is the culmination of a development that has been underway for a long time. The collective ego of humanity has reached a point where it can no longer sustain itself. The dysfunction becomes too obvious, the contradictions too great. Tolle describes this process as a kind of self-destruction of the ego. This self-destruction manifests as collective insanity, as irrational decisions, as blind ideologies, as holding on to obviously dysfunctional structures. In his book A New Earth, Tolle describes this process as a necessary step in the evolution of human consciousness. The ego has fulfilled its function, but it cannot take us further. It's like scaffolding that is useful when building a house, but must be removed when the house is finished. We will experience a great reset, says Tolle, but not in the way it is planned by certain groups or organizations. They will be very surprised. It will be a completely different reset than the one they might be planning. What's the difference? The reset planned by some is based on the old paradigm of control, the idea that a new order can be created through external measures, rules, and structures. But this approach overlooks something essential. As long as consciousness remains unchanged, even new structures will ultimately reproduce the old patterns. The true reset, however, is an awakening to a new level of consciousness, an awakening from identification with the ego, both individually and collectively. This awakening cannot be controlled, planned, or forced. It follows its own inner dynamics. What we are experiencing now is, according to Tolle, a crisis point, but also a great opportunity. The crisis we are entering is also a great opportunity to move beyond the egoic stage. This opportunity arises, not despite but precisely because of the increasing dysfunction of the collective ego. It's as if life itself is urging us toward an awakening, as if the increasing madness is a wake-up call pulling us out of our collective sleep, a sleep in which we have identified with our thoughts, concepts, and mental positions instead of recognizing our deeper nature. This deeper nature, what Tolle calls presence, or consciousness, is beyond the ego. It is the silent vastness behind thoughts, the timeless awareness that observes all experiences without identifying with them. The awakening to this deeper nature is already happening in millions of people who are beginning to loosen their identification with mental positions, who are starting to discover the silence behind thoughts, who recognize that they are more than their opinions, beliefs, and concepts. This individual awakening is the seed for collective change. Each person who awakens from ego identification becomes a catalyst for the true Great Reset, the reset of consciousness itself. So while some groups may try to control and shape the future, a much deeper transformation is unfolding that no one can control. A transformation that transcends the ego itself, and thus all plans born from the ego. This is the surprising message from Eckhart Tolle. The true Great Reset is already underway, but it looks completely different than expected. It is not a reset through control, but through consciousness, not through force, but through awakening, not through external structures, but through inner transformation. What is your role in this great change? It's not about fighting against something or saving the world. The true contribution that each individual can make is their own awakening to presence. By freeing yourself from identification with the ego, you become an anchor point for the new consciousness. This doesn't happen through effort or struggle, but through letting go, through recognizing what already is, the silent presence that you are at your core. This presence is not personal. It is universal. It connects you with all life. When you live in this consciousness, your energy changes. You become a quiet catalyst for change without actively having to do anything. Your mere presence reminds others of their own deeper nature. This is how the new consciousness spreads, not through persuasion or coercion, but through resonance. In times of collective insanity, your own clarity and presence are the most valuable contribution you can make. Because every person who awakens from ego identification becomes a catalyst for the true Great Reset, the reset of consciousness itself. Remember that awakening is not a distant goal, but available in this very moment. The shift in consciousness that Eckhart Tolle speaks about is not something that happens only in the future. It's happening right now, with each breath, with each moment of presence. As we face the increasing challenges of our world, environmental crises, social division, economic uncertainty, the call to awaken becomes more urgent. Yet paradoxically, this urgency doesn't require us to rush or strain. It simply asks us to stop, to be still, to recognize what is already here. The true power of transformation doesn't lie in changing external circumstances, but in changing the way we relate to them. When we stop feeding the collective insanity with our own fear, judgment, and reactivity, we create space for something new to emerge. This is the invitation of our time, to be fully present, to recognize our deeper nature beyond thought, and to allow that recognition to inform how we live and interact with others. This is how we contribute to the true Great Reset, not by forcing change, but by embodying it. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of Eckhart Tolle's profound insights. I look forward to continuing this journey with you in future videos. Until next time, remember that the power to transform our world begins with the transformation of our own consciousness.